Hi everyone and welcome to Crochet Rocks. My name's Tracy and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make this rectangular blanket. It's difficult to show it in its entirety because it's quite big, but I'm using a 4-weight Aran yarn. That's 4-weight in the US and Aran in the UK. And how I'm doing this is by making a rectangle to start with and then just going round and round in a normal granny square, but a granny rectangle. And every now and then I'm going to introduce a colour from it and just do a couple of rows and then carry on with 4 rows of this variegated yarn. Now this yarn was sent to me by Kit from All Things Crochet and Knit with Kit when we recently did our yarn swap, which is we do have videos for that if you wanted to watch it, but it's Studio Classic by Nicole, and I don't know if I can see it. I might be upside down, that might be why. Specs trace. Actually, I've decided to start with this one for the tutorial because I figured it would be easier for you to follow. The other one being so variegated, the colour changes quite fast, so it might be difficult to see. So I thought if I start with this one for this tutorial, you might be able to see where I'm going a little bit better, so that might be a better idea. This is just an Aran 4-weight from a very inexpensive store called Pound Stretcher, but it's premium acrylic, so it is nice and soft. I'm just going to move down just a small amount so that I'm more in camera. Zoom in just a small amount as well. So for this tutorial I'm going to make a slip knot. Now how I was taught to make a slip knot is just to make a circle, go behind it and put the yarn through and pull it, which is very, very simple. I'll show you one more time. I do have a tutorial on slip knot and magic loop if you want to watch it, but it's make a loop behind it and put the yarn through and just pull it. So that gives you your slip knot. You can make yours however you wish. So I'm going to do a total of 23 chain. So to do a chain, if you don't know already, it's yarn over and pull it through that loop on the hook, yarn over, pull it through, yarn over and pull it through. So that's 3 and I need 20 more. So I'm just going to go ahead and do those and be silent while I do it, because if you're counting it will put you off. So that's my 20. Now I'm going to go into the 3rd chain from the hook, because for me, if I'm having any chain represent my treble crochet is a UK term, it's a double crochet in the US, but I only have 2 chain that I have representing my stitch, so I don't want to go into the 4th one like some people will say that, but I don't use 3 chain, I only use 2. So there is my 1st chain and there's my 2nd, and I'm going to go into that 3rd one and do a treble crochet. So that's yarn over the hook, into the stitch and yarn over and pull up a loop. So we have 3 on our hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And I'm going to do another one in that same space. It's yarn over, into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. Yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2. Now what I'm making is the one at the end at the moment. So I'm going to do chain 2, and this is the only corners, is the only time I'll do that. So I'm going to do another 3 in my next one along. So yarn over, into the next stitch and do 3 treble crochets. into that one. And now we're starting along our main end. So I'm going to miss 2 stitches and I'm going to go into the next one and do 3 more in there. So I want to go into 2 loops if I can. So there's 1, there's 2. I want to go into this one. I'm going to hold on to that in my finger so it'll be easier. And I'm going to do 3 into there. And we're going to do that all the way along until we get to the end. We're going to skip 2. So we're going to skip 1, 2, and I'm going to go into this one and do 3 into the same stitch, just like before. We're going to do that all the way to the bottom, like I said. So skip 2, 1, 2, into the next one, and do my 3. Now, if I'm going ahead of you, by all means, just pause the video and catch up with me. Go along. We're going to skip 2, 1, 2. And do our cluster of 3. And the next one. So we have 1, 2, into the next one, cluster of 3. Because it's not very long, I'm not pausing the video and getting you to catch up with me. So I'm skipping 1, 2, and I'm going into this second to last one. And just like we did at the other end, because this is now going to be the corner one, this last one here. Remember we went into the first 2 this end. I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to do another cluster in that last stitch. I get in there. Sometimes tightens up a little bit. Need to get in there. That's it. So I'm going to do my last 3 in that stitch there. I'm going to work over the tail. Now that is my end. Can you see we've turned a corner? So I'm going to do 2 more chain and turn back on myself. So now we're going to work this side, and we're going to go into exactly the same stitch as we have here. So we're going to go, it's nice and elongated. You can see them all very clearly now. So I'm going to do 3 in there, and we're working our way back. See, it's much easier to see with the solid coloured yarn. We're not doing any chains between. We're just going to yarn over and go into the next one and do our little cluster of 3. Now I'm not going to work over the tail anymore. Just going to pull some yarn out because I want to sew that in, because there's quite a gap between, you see, you can see it there. So I will probably just pull that out. I don't like that, and I will sew that in now, so I won't work over it. But in each one where I've got the 3, I'm going to go into the same stitch but the back of it and do this 3. It'll pull open for a little while, but it will soon close up again, so don't worry, won't look too baggy. I'll do my 3 in this one, and the next. And the next, and I'm coming up to my corner, got 1 more here, I'm going to do my 2 chain to mirror this side, and I'm going to slip stitch into the top of my, these are my first 2 chain, remember, so I'm going to slip stitch into the top one because that represents a UK treble crochet, and I'm slip stitching into there, and now I'm going to do 1 chain, cinch it down, cut this yarn off, and I'm going to end off completely. This is the only round, oh, I didn't need to do that, did I? This is the only round where I'm going to do that. I'll pull that through, store it on my chain and cinch it down. So you're going to have something that looks like this. So now I'm going to join my coloured yarn, which I need to, should have got it out in the end. Or did I stop myself? Now, I'll make sure I get the right part. That really gone all the way around there. Here we are. So it comes out, this is one of those centre yarn balls where it pulls out from the centre because it's monstrously big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to join this yarn and I'm going to do an invisible seam at my ends. So I'm just going to join it here to any of my corners, but I don't want to do it on this one because I've already got a tail. So I don't really want to have two. So that's what our ends look like. We've just got this one cluster. We've got our 2 chain either side of it, and it's the same this side. Just ignore the tail. So I'm going to join it here. And what I'm going to do is, because I'm going to be using treble crochet, which is a UK term, I'm just going to bring through a loop and I'm going to do 1 chain using both my tail and my working yarn. Then I'm going to drop my tail and do my 2nd chain with just my yarn like normal. So now I've got 2 chain and I'm going to work over this end and I'm going to do 2 more. So I've got my cluster of 3. Now this is a corner, but this is just half of my corner. Now I'm going to work all the way around and come back, and then I'm going to do my last part of this corner at the very end. And that's how we have an invisible seam. So now I'm going to, in every gap, I'm going to do a cluster of 3. Between every segment, between every cluster, there's going to be another cluster. Normal granny square kind of thing. So I'm just going to do 3 in there, no chain between them, and again 3 in there. Now sometimes some people prefer to turn their work and go backwards the other way, so that you have 1 row this side, 1 row showing the reverse. I don't do that. I've never had a granny square yet that twists on me. And I think that is because my tension's fairly even, and when I do it, I make sure I go right in this corner with my first stitch, and it stops it from pulling round, because they have a tendency to pull that way. But I tend to make it in that very corner and slant this way. I'm sorry if my freezer's very noisy, just realised when it went off. And I do that every time, go into that corner so that it pulls it back this way, and I never have a problem with my squares or my rectangles or anything else twisting, because I kind of pull it upright by kind of insisting that it goes right into, let's pull some yarn out, that it goes right into this corner. I even sort of go over my stitch a little bit, see that? And pull it up. So just a little tip for you there. I've never had one twist, and that could be why I think I don't, because I do that. Now I'm at the corner. I'm right on the 2 lots of 2 chain. So this corner will be our 3. And I'm going to do 1 chain and then 3 more. Now I would kind of work over my tails. I'd be a little bit more diligent about it for my own blanket, but because I'm showing you in this tutorial, I'm not going to worry about them too much. So that's my first corner, and I need to do another corner in this side. This is obviously just the first round. We've got no sides in between, so it's just 3. Pull some yarn out. I must admit, I like those balls that come out from the centre like that. Centre pulls, they're nice. So I've done 1 chain and the other part of my corner. So that will turn my corner nicely now, and it looks like that. It's a little bit difficult to see with this variegated yarn, as easy. You don't see it quite as clearly, but it's lovely yarn to work with. So I'm just going to now work all the way back the other side. Going in each gap. And doing my 3. Again, if I go ahead of you, then by all means just pause the video, pull some yarn, and catch up with me. Believe it or not, this is slow. This is slow for me, but it may not be, especially if you're a beginner. So each one, I'm doing my 3 until I get right to the end when I have to make my corners, and I'm almost there. I really love this this yarn. That's the first time I've ever used it. So now I'm at my corner, and I've got to do a full corner in this one here and the rest of this half. So I'll do my 3. Whoops, tried to escape me. 1 chain and another 3 for my full corner. I'm not used to these hooks. This is and also I'm at a funny angle, it doesn't help. So again, nothing along here, straight in here for the other half. So I'm going to do my 3 treble crochets, which is the UK term, obviously. Now that is the last one. So now I need to bridge that gap between my 2 halves of my corner. So I'm going to do that with what we call in the UK a half treble, but in the US it's a half double. And to do that, we yarn over, we go into the top of our 2 chain. There's 1 and there's 2. So just go in there, yarn over and pull up a loop. So I have 3 on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 of them. And that gives me a nice even, just the same as if I'd done a chain in between. And it puts me in the dead center of that gap. So I'm not over here or where I'd have to, try and turn round and slip stitch back. It puts me right in the center. So all I have to do is 2 chain to start and finish that half of the corner with another 2 stitches. So there we are. I've now got half a corner again, and I can go all the way around, and this is going to grow now each time round, so it will get bigger and bigger. How it looked when I did it in this yarn was like that. So really that's all I'm going to do, is just keep going round and round. I'll go round one more time with you with this yarn. The only thing that is different is when I change colour, and I will show you how I get around that. So again, just 3 in each of these. Just like that. So I'm going to pause the video for now, and I will catch up with you when I get to this end, and I'll show you how we go round. Okay, so I'm back at the corner. I've done my last segment before I get to my corner, and now you'll see that we have our corners here. So we've got our gaps, and we've also got this gap in the middle. So we're going to do a full corner here. So that's our 3. With 1 chain and another 3 in the same gap to make the corner. You could use any weight yarn you want. It doesn't have to be a 4 weight. You just substitute the correct crochet hook. So now in this one here, it's a normal segment between the corners, so I'm just going to do 3. And this is how our granny rectangle is going to grow. Next time round there'll be 2 in this end. So now I'm going to do a full corner again to get me round to my straight edge. So that's 3, 1 chain and another 3 to turn that corner. So we only do that in our corners, and we try not to lose our stitches. So that's 2. You can easily see them if you ever get stuck as to where you are. So now we've turned that corner and we've got our full corner, our 1 and our corner. So next time round we'll have 2 in this side, and next time after that we'll have 3 along this side, and that's how it's growing. It will grow along this edge as well. So I mean, obviously this yarn is slightly thinner than that, but you would probably be using all the same kind of yarns or same thickness. It's just really for this tutorial. So now I'm going to go all the way along this side, and I will catch up with you when we get to the other corner. And although I haven't done it for this blanket that I'm making, I'm doing 4 rounds of variegated colour. I will show you how I change colour, just so that you can get on and I haven't got to carry on, and then I can leave you to get on with the blanket. So I'm going to pause the video and I'll meet you back when I get to my corner. Okay, so I'm all the way back to the corner and I've got my 1 full corner to do. Get some more yarn out. And then on my chain, so I've got to do the rest of that corner. Oops. So far I've done that quite a lot with this hook, I must admit, these amours. That might be one thing that is a drawback for me. Now I'm going to do my cluster of 3 in between the side. And now I'm back at the other half of my first corner. So I do my last 3. Could just be the angle that I have to work at to do a tutorial. I didn't notice it when I was making the other one. So now I'm back here. I do my half treble or half double in this top chain, just as before. Go through all 3, but not with this yarn. I'm going to show you how I change colour, and I'm just going to use this same yarn because obviously this is just a swatch. I'm actually already making the blanket, so I don't really want to cut the yarn. So I'll show you how I do it. So I get my new colour, which if I'm doing it, you know, in my blanket, it wouldn't be the same unless you wanted it to be. So you just hold on to this one at the back so it doesn't make it baggy. And take this new yarn, hold on to that as well, finish the stitch with the new yarn. And then I normally make a little knot. I know it annoys at least one of my subscribers that I do a knot, but I always do it. And then instead of just doing my 2 chain with this yarn, I'll show you what happens when I do. I'll just do it quickly and I'll show you why I don't do it that way. You see this little part here, and it's only a very, I'll just zoom in, it's only a very small purple part, but it could be yellow, could be any of these colours. It's just a very small bit. But when you come round and you do the other half, you're left with this little piece of mauve. Now, if you don't mind that, that's fine. But for me, a bit of a perfectionist, I don't like it. So what I do is just go into the stitch and pull up my yarn, and I just do my first stitch through those 2 loops and then do my next chain. So now I'm up to the height, and I've gone through that yarn, so now I won't have that. I can do my next 2 and that won't happen. That won't happen now. See, I've actually gone through the actual stitch with the colour, so that doesn't look like there's a bare spot. And it's just my personal preference. You don't have to do that, but that's what I do. So when I get to my new colour, and all I've got on the hook is this, because I've just gone through those 3 with that. I will then, you can either just grab the wrong yarn. You can either do it that way and then do so that you can pull that through there, but I prefer to use that So I just do 1 chain, 2 chains, and then start going around with my new colour. Just the same as I did with the variegated colour. I'm sorry, I've zoomed in, haven't I? So I'm slightly off. But that's how I change colour. And I bury that little tiny bit that it can be a very bright colour that you if you know it's there, you will be forever looking at it. If it doesn't bother you, it doesn't bother you, but it does me, especially if it's a bright yellow or a bright green part. So then you just carry on going round with your new colour. And, you know, I could have used a different colour. It would have looked brighter, but that's it. You just keep going round in your new colour. So what I've done with my blanket, I'll put that aside because I will undo that. What I've been doing, I started off with the variegated colour, and then I did 2 rows of a colour, and I've done 4 rows, and then I brought in a new colour, which there are little peach pieces in this, so I brought a colour out. And now I'm back to my rows of colour. So as I go round, 4 rows will look thinner. So I may do more, and I'll just insert colours where I feel. I'll see what it looks like. I should probably do 4, keep it the same, but I will have a look at it. And just introduce different colours from this variegated yarn, and just keep going because I want a nice big blanket. So that's basically how we make the blanket. And you can put on a nice little border once you're done. I'm kind of obviously not at that stage yet, but what I'll do is I'll just choose a colour and do a nice, pick out one of the main colours and do a nice border around, and then I'll probably just do a crab stitch in this colour all the way around the border. So when I get to that, I'll pop a little part 2 on and show you how I've done my border. But I have to remember, as you get this blanket gets bigger, you'll need an awful lot of yarn to get around. So start with your little colours. If you've got any that you want to use up, make sure you use the smaller balls on these rounds, because as you get further along, it will take more and more and more to get around the edge, and it will take longer and longer to get around. So, you know, make sure you've got enough of your colours to get around. You don't have to change colours at all. You can just make it all variegated. But I like the idea of making a rectangular blanket. That way you can make a rectangular blanket without making squares and sewing them together or crocheting them together. You can just make the blanket, and that's so if you like this, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and you'll be informed when there are new videos. And now my hand is 100% better. I'll be uploading parts, I think it's 3, of my crochet bag, which I was doing as a crochet along. But I had a hand injury and I wasn't able to do it, but now I can crochet again. I'll be doing that any day now, so watch out for that. Thank you for watching, everyone. Till next time, bye bye for now.